Hey everyone, welcome back to Layers of Justice, the podcast where we dive into the ideas that connect us and shape our world. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Chelsea, and today we're going to be unpacking the layers of the complex concept of intersectionality.
You may or may have not heard this term before, but you've definitely had a conversation with it. Whether you're talking about identity, diversity, or social justice issues, you've talked about it before and you've had some conversations with it. But you may be wondering, what does it really mean?
And more importantly, why does it matter? And to all of us. And by the end of this episode, you'll understand because we'll be breaking down real life experiences of intersectionality, and we'll be talking about how intersectionality affects all of us and how it makes us view inequality in a different way.
So let's start with the basics. The term intersectionality was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989. She's a legal scholar that noticed that Black women were being left out of feminist movements and civil rights conversations.
Exactly. Crenshaw pointed out that discrimination doesn't just derive from one single issue. However, it comes from multiple forms of discrimination and how a person can experience that. It comes from race, gender, class, sexuality, and ability.
And think of it like a traffic intersection where two roads meet, and each road is a different part of your identity. When there's a crash in the middle, it's often hard to tell who was at fault. This is similar when it comes to discrimination because there's often several overlapping factors that come to it.
Yeah, so instead of asking, is this racism or is this sexism? Intersectionality says that it is both and that they're both working together in very complex ways.
So let's make it a bit more concrete. Take the workplace, for example. Studies show that women of color often face pay gaps that are much larger than those faced by white women or men of color.
Exactly. The pay gap of Black women and Latina women, in particular, show that race and gender discrimination can combine, and solving just one of these issues isn't going to solve the bigger picture.
Another example is the healthcare. Black women in the US experience higher rates of maternal mortality than white women, and this is not because of biology. This is due to systemic racism and sexism in the healthcare place. And this is also portrayed in TV shows because recently Chelsea and I have been watching Grey's Anatomy, and there's an episode we saw where Dr. Bailey, she's a Black female surgeon,
Mhm.
she was the one on duty in the ER, and there's a patient on the brink of death coming in, and he's a white male, and he's only demanding a white male surgeon
Mhm.
because he believes that Dr. Bailey won't be able to perform as well as this white male when
Mhm.
all doctors are the same. They all go through the same
Yeah,
certification.
exactly.
Like, she would not be there if she wasn't a good
A
doctor.
certified, right. And it's just crazy to think that like we see this in our everyday lives, in our television that we see like every day. And most people are just going to graze over the fact that you just saw an example of intersectionality on your TV, because most people won't be able to grasp the situation. They don't understand that intersectionality is a concept and that it does exist, and it's affecting people's everyday lives. I mean, the fact that it's even on a TV show shows that it's relatable to someone because it has been experienced before.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to see how it's portrayed in a show and then you see it happening in real life and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, and we see this also in LGBTQ communities, because we can also view that a white gay man and then a black trans man will experience discrimination, but they will also both experience it in many different ways, and they will experience it to a different severity than the other. And intersectionality opens up this idea and really implements it into our mind. It makes us realize that not everyone's experience is going to be the same.
Yeah, and this isn't just about oppression either. Intersectionality also helps us recognize how privilege works, like how someone can be marginalized in one area, but in another, they're privileged.
Right. Like how a white woman would experience sexism, but they're going to benefit from their racial identity. Or how a black wealthy man will experience racism, but they're not going to experience class obstacles that many other people will experience. And intersexuality and understanding these intersections makes us realize that we can view how complex inequality is. And we can also see this in the past election where we saw Kamala Harris and Trump, and we saw the differences of responses that they were receiving online, and how Kamala was receiving death threats about how she's a black woman and she's of mixed race, which means that she's black and Indian, and people were coming at her for racial reasons, and then also coming at her from misogynistic point of view. So we see that these two combine onto each other and just layer on top, and that is a clear example of intersectionality. Because when we combine it to Hillary Clinton, she was experiencing discrimination, however, it was solely based on her gender. But with Kamala, you start to see that they are experiencing racial discrimination as well.
Yeah, and this makes people wonder, why are things so complicated and why can't we just treat everybody equally?
But ignoring these differences isn't going to make the inequality disappear. If anything, it's just going to make it harder for us to see. And intersexuality, opening up to this idea and allowing people to understand it, is not only just going to benefit us, but it's going to benefit everyone, because we start to slowly enforce our policymakers, our politicians, our educators, our activists to start accommodating to these people who need it most and these people who are affected by these situations the most.
Yeah, so like say if a city wants to improve their public transportation, an intersectional approach to this would be asking questions like, how do safety concerns affect the woman traveling alone at night? How does accessibility affect people with disabilities? How do costs and route locations affect the low income communities?
Exactly. And it pushes someone to not just view someone as, check boxes that you need to satisfy and to accommodate to make that person feel included, but however, view them as an entire being with these lived experiences, these lived struggles, these obstacles that they've had to face based on factors that they cannot change or control.
Yeah, and it also invites empathy into this conversation because once you start seeing how the systems overlap, it becomes harder to judge others or assume your experience is universal because not everybody's going through the same issues, everybody's facing the same problems. Everyone has their own obstacles to face, and some people just need to understand that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are never going to be able to understand the concept of intersectionality because they're too wrapped up in their heads about, oh, this is some sort of oppression Olympics, or it's a battle of who's had it the worst, or whose discrimination is the worst.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to one up each other on oppression, but that is not what it is at all. It's not a competition, it's a framework for understanding the complexity of this issue.
And I know for some people it may seem overwhelming because there's so many factors to consider, and there's just many things to take in when you're talking to someone. However, these small steps include just questioning your assumptions, listening to other people's experiences, understanding and validating and hearing what they have to say. And these are all just small steps of implementing intersectionality thinking into our daily lives.
Yeah, definitely. It's about curiosity and compassion, not perfection.
Yeah, so just to wrap it up, intersectionality is just a way for us to view our identities not just as separate boxes that are segregated, but however, as a woven, you know, thing that is supposed to be come together, and, that is supposed to be saturated within oneself.
Yeah, and when we recognize that, we're able to build fair policies, stronger communities, and be able to deepen our connections with each other.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about intersectionality, we would really recommend you check out Kimberly Crenshaw's The Urgency of Intersectionality. It is a really powerful starting point to just opening up your mind to the idea of intersectionality and just understanding that these people are experiencing these struggles every single day. And it is not something that is wanted, or, obviously it's not something that anybody wants to experience, but it happens and it is part of our lives. And ways and steps to making this a solution is just to understand these people's experience, listen to them, and hear what they have to say.
Yep, and that is all we have today for intersectionality. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Layers of Justice. And if you liked it, make sure to give us a big thumbs up, subscribe, turn on those post notification bells, and leave some comments down below on your thoughts or your experiences about intersectionality.
Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep peeling back those layers.